us pray for peace and love for every living thing, and recognize that there are ties between us, all men and women living on the earth, ties of hope and love, sister and brotherhood, that we are bound together in our desire to see the world become a place where we, our children, can grow free and strong. We are bound together by the task that stands before us and the road that lies ahead, but we are bound and we are bound. There is a feeling like the clenching of a fist. There is a hunger in the center of the chest. There is a passage through the darkness and the mist. And though the body sleeps, the heart will never rest. Shed a little light, oh Lord, so that we can see. Oh yeah, oh Lord, just a little light, oh Lord. Send it on up, send it on up, oh Lord. Oh, send on up, Lord. Shed a little light, oh Lord. Can't get no light from a dollar bill. Can't see me no light from a dollar bill. Don't give me no light from a TV screen. No, no, no TV screen. When I open my eyes, I wanna drink my fill from the well on the hill. I know you know what I mean. Shed a little light, shed a little light, oh Lord, so that we can see. Oh yeah, just a little light, oh Lord, just a little light, oh Lord, yeah. Stand it on up, stand it on up, oh Lord. Oh, stand on up, Lord. Shed a little light, oh shed a little light. There is a feeling like the clenching of the fist. There is a hunger in the center of the chest. There is a passage through the darkness and the mist. And though the body sleeps, the heart will never rest. Oh, let us pray for peace and love for every living thing, and recognize that there are ties between us, all men and women living on the earth, ties of hope and love, sister and brotherhood. Please stand now and join us in singing "We Are One in the Spirit." We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord.
Happy Father's Day. Would like to offer you this morning a different version of the Lord's Prayer. It's gonna really open your heart. So take a deep breath. You might want to close your eyes or not. Our Father, who's innocent and pure, holy is your name. May love be seen as all that is. May earth be seen as heaven is. Nourish this day with your bountiful supply, and allow us to receive as we give that right to others. Restores us from the perils of illusion and renew our perception of truth. For truth is the kingdom, and love is the power, and yours is the glory forever and ever. And so it is, and so we let it be. So I want to welcome everybody officially, and especially those who follow us online. This is an amazing community that is so open to transcending the physical and touching hearts through the technology of the internet. Want to really celebrate fathers today and celebrate the father of our church, Reverend Newsom Holmes. He'll be sharing something with you, but we just want to say we'll thank you for you, grateful for you. And today we are grateful for somebody else who's going to be sharing the platform with you. Somebody who I have met recently, but has really touched my heart. And I know he will touch yours by just being himself and offering his story. So more to come during the talk. It will be a special service today, and you will see why. So, because we want to move forward as quickly as possible, I'm just going to offer you some announcements, and we'll get on with the service. And the first announcements that I have for you is that today, like once every, yes. We have Dr. Marsha. Can you tell I'm preparing to do my Spanish talk? Yeah. Dr. Marsha Walters, Creating with God at 1:30 in the 228. And then this Friday, the 21st at 7:30, think about it, a Friday night, 7:30, we're having a service on the summer solstice. So it's gonna be like fellowship time, drums, setting our intentions, and Newsom will mention more details, but just become aware, Friday night at 7:30, here is the place to be. And then by June 30th, we are collecting funds for the Raleigh Rescue Mission, and our goal is to donate 100 fans this year, and we always set goals here to help others, and they always get accomplished, right? Right, Karen? So remember that, and by the 30th, bring a fan. Then July is coming up, and 4th of July, we're gonna do the 4th of July celebration on Sunday, July 7th, by having a potluck. So start thinking about the dish you're gonna bring, and let's have a great time celebrating that big, big day. And last but not least, then the upcoming Sunday, July 14th, and Saturday, July 20th, we have a very special guest, Stan Davis. He's going to be doing a talk on finding the kingdom within now, and then follow-up workshop on both Sunday afternoons and Saturday. You're going to be hearing more about him and videos and so on, but just mark your calendar so that you make sure you're available that weekend. Having said that, I'm going to ask you to please stand and join us in... Oh, again, yes. What a beautiful picture of John Peregrino. David Johnson, bad. Okay, so every Sunday we feature a team or a group from our community, and today it's about the gorgeous, good-looking men groups of our community. So stop by and get their autograph. Wow. Now let's all stand and join us in singing the welcome song. There is so much love to share. So please do it right now with one another, the best way for you.
presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Good morning, Unity. I'm Dan Shorb, and I was asked to speak a little bit to you about what fatherhood means to me. So you might know my wife, Nella, and our two boys. Gregory is 8, and Alexander is 5. You may have seen them running around, wreaking havoc around the church. But to me, fatherhood is three things. Firstly, love. How could you not love the beings that you brought into this world? So to me, it's a way to connect to our Creator, because we know that He's looking down upon us with the same love and admiration. And there's nothing that my kids could ever do that would break that love. So it's just an intuitive feel that that's exactly how the universe feels about each and every one of us. As part of that love, though, there's also some sacrifice. So that's my second point is, it's not always easy being a father. There are a few things that are afforded to fathers in life. One of them, you get to drive the family around. I like to drive, so that's a good thing for me. You get the big piece of chicken. That's also a benefit, clearly. Other than that, though, there's not a whole lot that's just readily given to fathers. Fathers take the role of the provider, the supporter, and I'm blessed to be able to provide that from time to time and to take on those responsibilities. It's really not about you as a father. It's about the needs of the family, and those come first. So that's a blessing to be able to give in that way. And I guess finally I want to say gratitude. That role has given me a lot to be thankful for. I think we wouldn't even be coming to Unity regularly or have become members, have been so involved that we've gotten with, if we weren't looking for a place that we could call our spiritual home so that our kids could grow up in that environment. Nella and I both grew up in the church. A little bit more fundamentalist type environment, so we're really grateful that we were able to find a place that resonated with our ideas of spirituality, and it's just been so abundant, over and beyond what we expected. My involvement with the choir and the kids' music has brought a great deal of joy to my life, and Nella and her involvement with the prayer ministry has really taken our whole family experience with spirituality to a new level. We've seen the practical elements of affirmative prayer, Rickie training that we've received from Reverend Mary Mooney, who we love so much, and all of the kids program, Janice and all the volunteers, who are far too many to name, do an amazing job with the kids. So I'm just really grateful that they're able to grow up in that environment and to know that they're perfect, that there is nothing holding them back from their connection to the divine. So that's something I wish that I had when I was their age. So just very grateful for all of that. I'm grateful for all of you, and really happy to be a part of this community. So thank you very much.
Good morning. I was so moved by all that, I almost forgot to come up to pray. I was already in prayer. Thank you, Dan. I'd like to ask those in prayer ministry if they'd like to stand and join us in holding sacred space while we offer our prayers for those who've placed their intentions and those who've placed the names of folks into this prayer box. So we take a moment, fall into the space of our heart. We use this time to connect with that divine within us, and to connect with the divine of those names that have been placed into the prayer box. The names that have been placed in this box, there might be a perception that they're lacking, that there's not enough, that there's something missing. As we connect with that space, with the divine, we actively see that perception shift, the doubt removed. We shine the ray of love into this space, reminding those whose names are in this box that they are whole, they are connected, they are loved, they are at peace, they're serene, there is joy, there's so much to be grateful for. It is in this place that we see the divine, we know the divine as them, as us, as love. And so it is. Amen.
We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be.
As we prepare to meditate, let us settle in, adjusting our seats as necessary so that we can be comfortable. And begin by paying attention to the breath, feeling the breath. Let that be the focus for a few moments of our full attention so that we can rest inside this body that we are with. As we go deeper with each breath, Let us see if we can pay attention to the mind that is having the thoughts instead of the thoughts themselves. See if the little shift of attention to the luminous space in which your thoughts arise can be now the object of your attention. The luminous space in which thoughts arise instead of the thoughts themselves. Let us pay attention to that. As we keep our attention on the luminous space that is our mind, and it's not on our thoughts, the past or the future, but just looking at that which contains awareness, this mind, paying attention to that. Let us feel the gratitude and the peace that comes with looking deeply. And live in that clear space as we sit together in holy silence.
This day our daily bread, you said you would supply all my needs according to your riches. I have but to ask, and I shall receive.
The way to truth
Thank you. Thanks, choir. Y'all were great. As some of you know, I was not here last week. I was ably substituted by Anna, and the reason I wasn't here is I had been in the hospital, and the way it started was a couple of Mondays ago, about 2:30 in the morning, I woke up with some uncomfortableness in my chest, and I thought it was an extenuation of this thing I've been having for several weeks, which it felt like had cold air coming into my throat and lungs, and that was probably an allergy or something. And I had been a bit dehydrated, so coupled with that, I thought when I woke up in the morning, I must be dehydrated and this must be kicking in about now. Turns out it was something else, and when I went to the cardiologist 7 days later, he did a few tests and looked at me rather sternly and ordered an ambulance to take me to the hospital. And so I started imagining that maybe it's more serious than I thought at that point. But I sent out a couple of texts to letting people on staff know that I might not be around later in the week because I was going to the hospital, and alert the pyramid of care that we have here. And I told my sister and Nancy, and got the whole thing going. And so the beauty of technology is you can do that even as the EMS is arriving at the doctor's office. And so I wrote here, the EMS is coming to pick me up, and we can come with you. We'll be praying for you. And then I wrote, the EMS is here, which it said, the end is here. That's after telling about on my way to the hospital, right? The end is here. And I just got this from the angels, and so then the spiritual people in the group go, the angels are with you, and everything is like. And Nancy, who had been just a few minutes away from the doctor's office when I started this email chain and was chasing the ambulance down, wrote this. He meant eat an ass. Not the end. That was very clarifying, wasn't it? So finally she saw what she had done and she put EMS down there. And my sister was on her way from Lexington and said, Nancy says, keep strong, brother. And Nancy writes, I didn't correct because I was driving. And then I said, I'm Nancy, I'm going down. And what? Down in the lobby. So it's actually kind of a fun trip in the, I don't know, I'd never been in an ambulance, but here I am. I'd gotten up at 6 o'clock, walked the dogs for an hour, taken a shower, driven 30 minutes to the doctor's office, and then they put me in this ambulance. And I'm going, man, I've got this, If I'm that sick and I have just walked for an hour with the dogs up and down the hills of the Umstead, I must have, anyway. So that was my attitude. I kind of took the attitude, I got this. And of course everybody was praying, which I'm sure buoyed my spirits, but I just remember staying awake throughout the whole thing, 5 hours in the emergency waiting for me to kind of have my turn with the cardiologist to do a series of catheterizations in my heart. And first one, they found I had 85% blockage of one artery, and then the next one was 95, and the next one was 100%. At which point, the cardiologist said, I'm not sure I can do this. And he called a surgeon, and the surgeon said, just give it a shot. So he did. He got the 100% one unplugged, pulled a rubber band out of my artery, and put 2 long stents in there, and said, I think we're done for the day. And so I go back on Tuesday for the rest of the arteries. Hopefully I'll come back feeling even better after that. But I have been feeling pretty good, so all your prayers must be working because I haven't really suffered. It's been very pleasant it's nice to have everybody say, "Oh, take it easy." So I go, "Okay, I'm going to take a nap." And it's a trip to be the one who now has an array of pills on his kitchen counter and gets to take a nap anytime he wants to. It's not a bad trade-off, really, must say. So that's how I got here. I just thought y'all might want to know, and I didn't want to take up the whole time. But it was really, it's been a fun event. You know, right from the moment the guy said, "I'm calling the EMS," and I thought, surely you must be on acid too. You couldn't be calling. I just drove here myself. I think I can make it back, right? But it all turned out fun. So thank you very much for your heartfelt concern. Today is Father's Day, and I have my friend Dave Gold who is going to help me do this talk. We decided to do this a long time ago. It's not because I'm that lazy now that I'm taking a nap every day. But I did an interview with him and his wife and 2 stepchildren, and our idea was that a lot of families here are actually blended families. They come with, many of us have remarried, and we have stepchildren, so we have a direct experience of this. Some of us are stepchildren, and so it just seemed like something to help build the whole strength of the family in this church, which I think is one of the fundamental things that is going extremely well in this church, is that the youth and the whole family support system is stronger than it's been at any time, maybe than any time we've ever had it, but it's certainly very strong right now, and it's a real pleasure to see so many kids here. So we thought it would be appropriate for a lot of people directly, but also because the same skills and the same ability to be a human being with someone else that it takes to be able to be a stepfather in a family that's already organized and tight are the same skills we would need for almost any situation, whether it's work or developing friendships or just unraveling our own life, to be able to use these same skills. So when I was interviewing the family, I was really struck by several things that they do extremely well. One of which is to love. The other one is to commit. The third is to communicate. And the fourth is to be vulnerable. And so I'm going to invite Dave up now. If he'll come up, and he'll do most of the talking from here on out. I'll ask some questions, and maybe at the end, if we have time, you can ask some questions of Dave as well. So come on up, Dave. And see, strong like bull, right? Not sick, not weak. Okay, so Dave, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Dave Gold, this is the congregation.
Congregation.
This is Dave Gold. So one of the things that I noticed when we were talking before was that you and Julie, your wife, have a great deal of love and affection. I know it's not one of those things that you can tell somebody how to fall in love. Do you know what I mean? It seems to be like, but maybe you could just speak about love between the two of you at first.
Wow, this is like throwing me in the briar patch, Bear Rabbit. Don't make me talk about how much I love my wife. God, no. Yeah, this one. So first of all, thank you for welcoming me into your family. So I'm going to tell a different story than I told the last time. I put 40 years into an intense ascetic spiritual search. And even though I've always been a man of heart, I thought I had to, my first teacher said, you must lose to have and forsake love to be love. And I thought I had to let go of earthly love in order to find the love that my heart longed for. And I ran that experiment for 4 decades, many of those in a celibate lifestyle. You know, I paid my dues. And then, surprisingly, at age 62, I found everything that I was looking for in my divine search in another human being. And that might sound like a Hallmark card, I didn't mention before, but I used to be a trial lawyer. I've run companies, you know. I got my heart and my head in the clouds, but I got my feet on the ground. So this was an incredible surprise to me. It was like too good to be true. It was better than I could imagine. Not just her. I mean, I can't not only believe I can't understand how she loves me. I can't understand how she exists. And for this woman to love me this way, and for me to find in this earth, in human relationship, this kind of longing that was so deep and so pure and so unrequited and really so unmet, even in deep spiritual experiences. And I don't want to give a bad rap to those. I'm so grateful for them, but that I found it in another human being. So when Newsom asked, when we talked about doing this program, and I thought, well, some of you might be blending families, all the things, but what's the message that I have, or my own experience, my own beingness that I could bring from my experience in blending families, since that's the theme? It's that the shift in my own experience that kind of paralleled the shift when I went from a man who was looking for love outside of human relationship, to discovering it in human relationship, was going from scarcity of love to an abundance of love. Because it's easy in a blended family situation where it seems like you're playing a zero-sum game. Newsom, I talked about this before, I felt that if I loved my stepchildren too much, my own daughter would feel slighted. Or, it just seemed like no matter where you pulled, something else is pulling, and you're losing something by giving something else. And then when I fell into this incredible love that had befallen me and that has just continued to grow over the course of almost 5 years now, I realized, no, this is nuts. She loves those kids, as much or more than she loves me. And I love my own daughter this way. And so going from this idea that, no, there was a finite amount, and I had to figure out how to parse, I had to ration it. I had to figure out how you put here without taking there. You just let that go. And this is what I experienced this in your church. There's an abundance of love, an abundance of relationship. And so the whole blended family was an extension of my love, Julie's and our love for each other and love for our children. But then it was also recontextualized, where you're no longer trying to save. You're no longer trying to wait for something. You're no longer trying to hold something back so you can give it to somebody else. But just to let that love just cascade was a beautiful word that Newsom used in the first service. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Good. So one of the things, what was the prayer you used?
Yeah, so, and he's a great interviewer, but among other things, this guy's solid. I got a job for him. Not really. He gets nervous when I say that. That because I attempted for these 4 decades to will my way past my faults, my imperfections, the things that became so clear I used to spend 30 days every year in a cabin by myself, not seeing another soul, just meditating. You get to know yourself pretty well. You get to see your faults pretty well. And so I wanted to overcome these. I wanted to get closer to God. I wanted to get closer to enlightenment. And believe me, I went at it. I mean, I didn't leave anything behind. And then to find that I could actually love my way into this, that my desire to just love more was finding, I look in the rearview mirror and there was some attribute that I'd fasted and prayed and all those other stuff trying to get rid of. It was just behind me because I loved my way past it. And so I made a prayer that whatever stood in the way of me loving Julie more would be removed. And that's so much better than a spiritual path, I can't tell you. It just kicks the butt out of a spiritual path to just be driven by love. And then whatever needs to be removed will be revealed. And it doesn't mean there's not willpower. It doesn't mean, you don't bring the fullness of yourself and all the qualities and attributes and tools, whatever we have going for it. It just means that it's no longer out of a sense of lack. You're not starting from a place of imperfection. You're starting from the fact that this love is perfect and I want it to be more perfect. And the only way I can be more perfect is just to be a more perfect representation of whoever or whatever I am. And it's just brought such ease. It's just brought such ease into my life that I never expected.
So originally we were going to have Julie, his wife, and his stepdaughter Isabella, she came. Isabella got bitten by a copperhead last night on the foot, and she's doing well. Would you say for a person who's been bit by a
if you grade it on the curve, she's doing really, really well.
Yeah, and Julie's there taking care of her. So we don't have Isabella here, but one of the things that is tricky when you're the stepdaughter, is to start to make room for a new parent or parent figure in your life. And so I was asking Julie about it. Now, Isabella about it. Isabella is 17, I think.
Just turned 18.
Just turned 18. She's 18. She's a very attractive, self-possessed, articulate 18-year-old woman. And I said, so what was it like? What did you do? And she says, well, I didn't like him much at first. So now, imagine that you are completely committed to the mother of this at that time, 13-year-old girl. And you can see this because you can pay attention, right? And Dave does pay attention. So then how did that go from that to where it is today?
Well, again, I wish Isabella was here, and because it's quite beautiful to hear it in her own words. And of course, we're guessing. It's a mystery. It's the mystery of love. So I could just say it's a mystery of love. Next question, but I'm gonna tease this out a little bit more. When I came into Julie's life, she had just recently separated, and she and her then husband decided to divorce. And Isabella wasn't sad that I was replacing her dad. She was sad that she was sharing her mother. And when her mother told her I was in her life, because we didn't expect, and it's the whole thing. This, you can't draw this stuff up on a chalkboard. No matter how much you think you're plotting this thing out and you're really smart, you're gonna outsmart love. Forget it, you know that. But anyway, and so this happened faster than we could have imagined. And Isabella, when her mother told her, just went to pieces and said, "Mama, this was our time. I've waited 13 years to have you all to myself." And she could see this love that, she called it a love coma, And when you meet Julie, you see she's quite a grounded, beautiful, grounded woman. But so the resentment that she naturally felt, that she was waited for this moment, and here it was, and some guy just swoops into her life, and this wasn't anybody's plan, and she resented me. She resented me deeply, and I'll fast forward to the end because we have a business around this family blending, and I was recording a video with me, and she just said, "Well, now you're my best friend." So, how you go from that total resentment to the best friendness, again, you can't reverse engineer it. But what I aspired to do was I was just going to love them and wait them out, both of those kids. I was just going to love them. And I didn't know what that meant or what it was going to look like or how it was going to work out. But I had such confidence because I have a model for this love. This isn't speculative. And I know, a lot of times it feels like there's love and then there's the rest of our lives, when we have these deep wells into things that we love so much, including, being fathers for those of us who are fathers or parents. But I'm awash in this love that Julie and I have for each other. So this wasn't speculative. I know the power of love. I know the transformative power of it, and I know the contagion of it. And I just knew that the love that Julie had for her children, I had for my daughter, we had for each other, would eventually cascade, again, to use this beautiful word that Newsom used, would cascade into our lives. And I didn't try to push it. I didn't try to force it. I didn't try to think of events that we could do together that would, all these techniques you might find on blended, whatever, try this, try that. I just waited for the moments when I could connect. And then the other thing that the love gave me in this church of love is it just gave me such confidence in myself. And I knew that despite my craziness and my faults and my narcissism and who knows what else I could confess to up here in front of you, have it on tape for the rest of humanity, that despite all that, I knew I was just a good man who loved my wife and loved these kids and wanted nothing more than the best for them. And then somehow we could, like I said, we could try to reverse engineer and say, we had this moment, we had that moment, we worked together on some things. But essentially, we just discovered this beautiful, beautiful love that is, there's a part of me when she got bitten by that snake. My wife is an alternative practitioner and quite handy in these kind of situations. And she had one leg attending to Isabella's foot, and I had Isabella's other foot in my lap, just stroking her toes and just being present. And I just see life as an opportunity for love. I really do. I'm not making that up because it sounds nice on a pulpit in a Unity church. All I see is love, opportunity for love everywhere. And it's because of the woman that I love so dearly and loves me so much that this is a living reality. And I just want to push the envelope, see how far love can go. And pushing it into the kids was the obvious next layer of love to go out.
So this next question, I know the answer. So Dave, how many years did it take this to unfold?
Well, I'm not sure what, this is the lawyer in me, like, am I getting, are they going to read this back and I'm going to get hoisted?
Well, we'll just start with your relationship.
No, I know.
We don't have
kidding.
to know about God.
Well, it was 4 years. We set wedding dates like 3 days after our love was revealed. You think we'd know better because we're mature. But we didn't. But it was always the family. We couldn't do it. We couldn't bring them together. We literally set wedding dates. And it was 4 years before we got married. And this was, to me, I don't want to, oh, poor me. But it was agonizing. Every night I'm not with, hey, I guess I'm not ashamed to admit it. It's just agony for me to not have her next to me. And we spent a lot of time together, but this was the 4 years. And then it was another 6 months after we were married before I moved in. And because we just knew we had to, I don't know what we knew. We just were trusting and waiting for the moment, and the moment's here, and it's beautiful.
So one of the components, I think, of making this work was what Isabella, the daughter, said, rephrased what I called it vulnerability, and she said, I think it's more like transparency. And one of the things she really appreciated, that she told us, was that she really appreciated Dave being transparent with her. And could you talk a little bit about vulnerability or transparency?
Yeah, it is. The transparency, and this is, again, all of us who are parents, we know this line we're walking between holding our true authority, what's required in that authority, which is a lot of times you can't tell your kids what you're thinking or what you're feeling because it's just not right. It's just not appropriate, not in that moment. And at the same time, to be there, to be real and to be authentic with them. So I'm just thinking about this in my own, that I held, because my wife is such an unbelievable mother, then I could actually feel the value system. I could feel the appropriateness. I could feel, WWJD, what would Julie do, What would my wife do in this moment? And I wasn't just mimicking her, but I was channeling her. I was channeling the authenticity that she had with her family. And that's, as I'm saying, I'm just realizing, I'm just making this up as I'm going along. So part of this was just feeling what is appropriate in this moment. But Isabel said, you never tried to bribe me. You never tried to be something that you weren't. And this is the confidence that love gave me. That even though I can see him like a very self-possessed, and I am a very self-possessed man, there's a lot of self-doubt, there's a lot of second-guessing, there's a lot of fear of my shadow, much less now since the love is revealed. But I wasn't front and center. And there was something that when Newsom and Anna and Isabella and Ashton and Julie and I were talking in his office, and that's about the most fun I've had, and I have a lot of fun just hanging with you guys. It was so much fun just talking, is that my love for Julie is stronger than any of my fears. So my love for these children was just strong enough to bring out the best in me. So I guess if I was, I'm kind of pontificating here, but you have that overarching power of love and the mystery of love and just being available to love. And that was it. I have a 3-step process for vulnerability, and the third one is you get your head out of your ass. And literally, Isabella says, Dave, you got your head up your ass. And because I know the only time I don't feel love for my wife is when it's got to be my head's up my ass. It can't be another reason. We can not be in a good spot in that moment, but to actually not know it. So anyway, that's it. And the vulnerability piece is that if you think of the prayer that I made early on, it's been my path. What's in the way of me loving her more? My armor. That's all. Whatever it is I'm afraid to experience in life. I talked in the first one, my father used the word anguishment. But life is so beautiful. When I hear Newsom of you being here in the moment with your congregation after what could have been, and what it was, I just think that's so beautiful. How beautiful is that we're here to share that moment with Newsom right now? I mean, it's just gorgeous. And if you let it sink in long, it'll break your heart. And our hearts have been broken. They're so easily broken that we armor up against not just the fear of life, but just the beauty of life. And because I had this living embodiment and the love that I have, that Julie and I share, I didn't become vulnerable because I'm going to just feel more and go into my heart. I didn't make it a discipline, although I can't help but make everything a discipline, but that's a different talk. I did it primarily just because I wanted more connectivity. And that's the vulnerability piece, whether it's with your blended family or anything, is that the relationship, there's a one-to-one relationship. The more vulnerable you are, the more connectivity you're going to have. The more connectivity you have, the more, that's his job to talk about that.
Okay, so enough of my questions. If anybody has any questions, we'll take some from the floor. We have 5 minutes or so.
Don't be shy.
There we go.
I would ask, when you say you're a trial lawyer, and you imagine pretty successful, how do you approach your work with the same mindset?
I don't.
So let me repeat the question. So he said, so you're a trial lawyer. How do you approach your work with the same mindset?
And the answer is, I did. I wrote a book about it because I was in spiritual search, and I really, what does it mean to bring integrity to that? And the thing is, I don't think I could do. I can't fight. I can fight. You mess with my kids or something, or whatever. But I so much not like living in conflict. But interestingly, ironically enough, I have an article going into the next issue of the National Trial Lawyers magazine on vulnerability for trial lawyers, which, see, you talk about an oxymoron. You go into court vulnerable, you're going to cut parts of your body off that you wish you still had. But I think vulnerability is possible anywhere. But I can't swim with the sharks anymore. I've disarmed, and I can bring the armor up when I need it, but I'd much rather live another way. But it's a great question, and you're really perceptive, because this man that I am here, I could not go to court every day and do that.
If you'll hold, he's got a microphone.
How did you recognize your duty? How did you understand it's her? First time.
How did I?
Understand what?
How did you recognize your Julie?
I didn't.
How did you get it's her? It is just her for you.
So I would say I had my head up where it wasn't supposed to be when the first time I met her. But I think the quick version of it, again, and you get me started talking about that. But when we met, one, I recognized her integrity, her authenticity, and her vulnerability. I just happened to be the welcoming ambassador for the Waldorf class that my daughter was in and they were coming into. And when I talk with, how you talk with someone and you take it up a notch and you raise it up, and then you reach a point where you think, that's a little bit too much. I'm in too deep. Especially with a man and a woman, it's really easy to, to just think, just think I'm trying to hit on her or what. But that just made me, I knew she was a woman of integrity and stature, and I hate to say my equal, but I don't mean that in a hierarchical way. I just meant I met one of my fellows, or my, again, I'm talking in mass. I'm sorry, misogynist, I'm just too old. But I met her. But then when we met, there was no spark, there was no nothing, and we just were spiritual friends. And then about 4 months later, I happened to be in Denver at a board meeting, and she has a lot of energy around that. It's a different story. And over the course of 3 days on the telephone, our love was just revealed. We didn't fall in love. Our love was just revealed. And we knew, and I couldn't get my head around it. I could not grasp it. I could not believe it. I still had all these ideas of what it had to look like. And I just was sure, this is too good to be true. Am I misinterpreting this? We're friends. You have all these ideas, all these limitations about what was in the way. But then when it happened, it was just, she said the scales fell from our eyes, and suddenly we knew. And it's bigger than we can imagine. I do not have the capacity to love her as much as I love her. I don't have the sense organs for it. I don't have the heart. I don't have it yet. And so that's God. Just more love. Just become a bigger vehicle so you can love more. And that's how it's spread out to our children and our stepchildren as well.
One more, at least. So I'll jump in and say, I hate that story. Because it's one of those stories that you go, there's no formula that you can pass on to someone else and say, well, here's how you do it, right? Yeah. Lucky, aren't you?
I am. But I would say this much, is that, she's the deepest dream I didn't even know I was dreaming. So that means I dreamed it. I've dreamed of this love since as long as I can remember, 60 years ago, at least as far as my own memory will go. But then the universe knew there was something bigger than I could imagine. So for what it's worth, and I don't think this is formulaic, but it just happens to be my story, take it for what it's worth, I put out my prayer to the universe, and the universe answered 10 times more than I could ever have asked.
Well, finally you give us something we can work with.
There you go. And for a low price of $9.99.
Yeah. Yeah, I've known Dave over long before he met Julie, and he's a better person now than he was then.
That's grading on the curve too.
So, any last questions? Anything of Dave? Yeah. Who said?
Okay, this is probably going to embarrass me, but I'm single and I have no children. What would you say to me? And I'm sure there's other people that are single and have no children. What would you say?
You're in a good club?
Keep loving, right? I mean, I don't know, you talk.
Sure. Something that I heard myself say at the earlier service was that there's always something that you love deeply. And that's your model. I don't know if that's your model, that's your pinprick of light, but for me it was my wife and my dog, and so many other things that I just love deeply. But whatever it is that you love, you follow that. I don't know how to tell you what to follow, but just mean that's already the gift. You've already been shown the light. And I'm sounding biblical here, but if whatever that love source is, just the way that I leaned into my love for Julie, and that opened up love into every other aspect of life, what does it feel like to love? What's the bodily experience of loving? How does your life react when you're looking at life that way? And maybe the advice I get, I said the first one, I turn on, I don't care if it's a Walmart clerk or the cable lady or, whoever it is. I just see how much fun can I have? How much love can I have? How much can I tell them how much I love this person, how much I love my wife, I just play at life with the love that I have. And it's a beautiful way to live. It's a vulnerable way to live. And I would just say, take the love, feel it, experience it, and then just play with it out into the universe. Be curious. Don't feel you're coming from a point of lack. But just feel the abundance of love you already have. Bring that out into the world and just play and see how the world greets you.
Well, I want to thank you, Dave. I do think you've offered us a good example of how to. My current word these days is trust. How to trust that you can do it, and that the world will unfold if you give your heart to it, and that will be enough. And it will be enough. It may take 4 years, but it will be enough. And magic will happen when you trust and you love. And I think you've done a great job of showing us how to do that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for putting me up here. Let me talk.
All right, thank you, Dave. We're before we take up an offering, I just want to say that just a couple of words. We have about the upcoming events. We do have open mic again. Open mic, you just bring yourself and whatever you need to support you in your expression of self. You get some time in front of people who are going to be very supportive. It's a fun night. I went to the first one. I thought it was hilarious, and largely because we have so much talent in this church. Please come and do it if you want to. And then I just want to remind you, as Anna said, we do have this celebration of the longest day of the year on Friday of this week, where we get together at 7:30 because it doesn't even get dark now till 8:30. So we're going to have a little bit of fellowship, and then we're going to do a little ritual and honor the tradition of the longest day of the year, and then we'll get together and have some more fun after that. So if you got time on Friday night, come see us. Who knows, maybe you'll meet the love of your life. right? And I just want to say something else as we get ready to take up the offering. I have really not been involved here for the last couple of weeks, almost an absentee person. And yet the machinery, the organization, the love, the structure of this church continues to turn on. And everybody supports everybody here. We had set this up a long time ago so that the sense of the church would not be related to me exactly, but to everyone in the church. Some churches have set up around the minister. This is not one of those. And one of the great things about it not being set up around the minister is you can be gone for 2 weeks and hardly anybody notices, which is kind of nice. So if you are if you've already started to contribute your time, talent, and treasure to this church, you know this is true. This is actually your church. And if you haven't, that's how you do it. You just give of your time, talent, and treasure, whatever you have to offer, money, time, or thoughts about how to make things work, or friendships, or just showing up sometimes on Sunday is all you got room for. But that reinforces everybody else who's here. So this presencing of yourself here makes this your place, and I thoroughly recommend that you own it, that this become a church that is owned by everybody, including the first-time visitor and the person who's been here for 40, 50 years. Well, we've only been around for 33, but you catch my point. Okay, let's take our gifts and we're going to bless them. And we'll say these together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. And now the great choir and their fantastic musicians, and of course, Tim as lead vocalist. Whew.
While the choir is approaching, I'd like to share a few words that I never really do. When I was young, my parents took in foster kids, and over the years, those foster kids ended up totaling, 40-some, 42, 43 kids that my parents took in and helped to raise for some period of time or another. It made for a very interesting youth, but I learned to love strangers who just came into our home. I learned from my mom how to love unconditionally, and I'm realizing now that that's a blended family in a major way. This next song is that Jay has arranged so beautifully for us. It's actually two songs. They're written by Sting. And this addresses the fact that the world is also a blended family. There are people all around us who have God inside them just like you and I and deserve our love. This is called One World.
We may seem a million miles away, but we get a little closer every day. We may seem a million miles away, but we get a little closer every day. We may seem a million miles away, but we get a little closer every day. We may seem a million miles away, we get a little closer every day.
I say,
one world is enough for all of us. One world is enough for all of us. One world is enough for all of us. One world is enough for all of us.
it's a subject we rarely mention, but when we do, we have this little invention. by pretending you're a different world from me. I show you my responsibility. I say one world is enough for all of us. One world is enough for all of us. One world is enough for all of us. Everybody, every living thing. One world is enough for all of us. One world is enough for all of us. One world is enough for all of us. One world. Lines are drawn upon the world before we get our flags unfurled. Whichever one we pick, it's just a self-deluding trick. I say, one world is enough for all of us. One world is enough for all of us. I say, one world is enough for all of us. All of us. One world is enough for all of us. One world is enough. One world is enough for all of us. One world, one world. We may seem a million miles away, but we get a little closer every day. We may seem a million miles away, but we get a little closer every day. We may seem a million miles away, but we get a little closer every day. We may seem a million miles away, get a little closer every day. One world is enough for all of us. One world is enough for all of us. One world is enough for all of us. One world, one family. One world is enough for all of us. All of us, you see, are one world. One world is enough for all of us. May we all live in unity in the empire of the senses. You're the queen of all you survey. All the cities, all the nations, everything that falls your way. I say, there is a deeper world than this, you don't understand. There is a deeper world than this, tugging at your hand. Every ripple on the ocean, every leaf on every tree, every sand dune in the desert, every path we never see. I say, there is a deeper way than this, swirling in the world. There is a deeper way than this, listen to me, girl. All the bloodshed, all the anger, all the weapons, all the greed, all the armies, all the missiles, all the symbols of our fear. There is a deeper way than this, swirling in the world. There is a deeper way than this, listen to me, world. At the still point of destruction, at the center of the fury, all the angels, all the devils, all around us, can't you see? There is a deeper way than this, rising in the land. There is a deeper way than this, nothing will stand. I say love is the seventh way. I say love is the seventh way. I say love. Love is the seventh way. Is the seventh way. Is the seventh way. I say love. Is the seventh wave, I say love. Is the seventh wave, I say love. Is the seventh wave. One word is enough. For all of us. One word is enough for all of us. One word is one family, one holy church, one unity, one world. One word is enough for all of us.
Well, it's great to have you all here. Thank you for being here. I see you must have had some fun today. At least you got the hats to show it. Little party. Yep. Please stand. We want to give you a blessing. These are words to you from us, and from seeing it in your eyes, from you to us. Let's say it again together. All of us. You are loved, special, and important, just the way you are. Let's turn now and sing the peace song. Grab a hand. God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Happy Father's Day!